Good evening. Many South Africans have been victims of crime while visiting petrol stations across the country to buy fuel or supplies. Victims have been targeted while using ATM machines, which are often found at filling stations. The filling stations themselves have also been victims of violent crimes, including robberies that target their cash safes. In the latest incident, Kaizer Chiefs defender Luke Fleurs was fatally shot during a hijacking in Honeydew in Johannesburg. Well, we look at the spate of violent crimes at petrol stations. And for more on this, we're now joined by Dr. Louis Nyahunda, Senior Research Fellow at the Tshwane University of Technology in the Department of Law, Safety and Security Management. And Dr. Nyahunda joins us now via our video link. Dr. Nyahunda, thank you so much for your time this evening here on SABC News. I mean, when we look at the spate of crimes taking place at petrol stations in the country, what is your research telling you? Are we seeing a spike in these problems?
Good evening, Bali. Good evening to our viewers, and thank you for having me. Yes, indeed, the scourge of petrol stations-related crimes is now a deepest concern, and at least one criminal activity is committed at petrol stations in South Africa. So it's now a very, very, very grave concern amongst us and in all facets of our policing sector. And now the reason behind all this spate of violent crimes that are being committed at petrol stations is because of an assortment of assets that are accessible at the petrol stations, which have now become a prime target of criminals. We talk about the cash safes, we talk about the customers' cars, you talk about cell phones, you talk about those ATMs. So it is now very uncommon for these criminals to walk away with nothing when they touch base at a petrol station. So now there's another conundrum of, easy accessibility and easy mechanism for them to exit the crime scene before the response team touch base. So there's a whole range of factors that are coming into play when you investigate into this issue. So it's really a growing concern, but it is primarily hinged on a quite number of assortment of assets that are found at petrol stations. So it is really a growing concern, within the policing security cluster.
And why would you say that, we're seeing petrol stations or filling stations now being targeted? Would you say that most motorists and people, when they go to a petrol station, you sort of feel safe because there are petrol guards or petrol attendants around, there's security cameras, there's a lot of people in your vicinity, and you sort of let your guard down. Do you think this has made it easier for criminals to target petrol stations? Most petrol stations, indeed, they have cameras, but it does not serve as a deterrent to these criminals. And, they now come up with very sophisticated mechanisms, and they study the area, they study the environment. They realize how they devise mechanisms with which they can easily access, and they also devise mechanisms with which they can calculate that within a short space of time would have exited the scene before the law enforcement officers touch base. So, of course, petrol stations used to be safe havens for customers. They used to be safe havens even for travelers, but now they are no longer the same. And you don't know when you touch base at a petrol station, the danger that will be for you. And it is also an interplay of quite a number of factors. Poor surveillance systems, issues to do with inefficient policing systems in South Africa. So they all come into play. A lack of adequate security personnel at the petrol stations. And now we have petrol attendants who are victims of all these violent crimes. And now you have a petrol attendant who is merely trained as a fuel attendant or a cashier. And these people, they do not have any security measure that they can employ whenever they are confronted with these criminals. And they are a scourge of other unreported crimes that are related to cell phone robbery that happens at the petrol station. So it is really a growing concern. And the availability of many people at a service station is not even a deterrent, because these people, they do not know how to even react when these criminals touch base. So nobody is safe. The petrol attendants are not safe. The customers are not safe. Even the security response teams, they are not safe. We've read, and it's now a rising scourge whereby security response personnel are being gunned down. Few attendants are being injured, customers being killed, so it's a whole interplay of issues, and you cannot now then detach it from the inefficient policing that we have in South Africa. The under-resource issue in the South African police service, they also come into play in terms of limiting the police visibility in all these petrol stations. So these criminals, they understand that a police station in a petrol station in Diepsloot is situated 10 kilometers away. So when we touch base, by the time the police will react, or they would have been notified of whatever the shenanigans there, they would have fled the scene. So they are coming up with, yes.
Yeah. And Louis, I was coming to the point of what are the most common crimes we see take place at petrol stations? Would you say that it's car hijackings or stealing of phones that take place, or robbing of people? Or what is the commonality there associated with the crimes that take place at petrol stations?
Yes, if you are to categorize these crimes, of course, car hijacking is the most rampant one, and also cell phone hijackings is underreported. They regard this as trivial criminal activities when you lose a cell phone at a service station, and when you are to lodge a complaint before at the police station, you are asked whether you have insurance for your phone and so forth. But if you are to categorize the prevalence of these crimes, we can put the car hijackings at the apex. Then ATM bombings, it comes second. Then cell phone robberies. Then also in that same wavelength, we have the robbery that is related to the stock that is found at the service station. So yes, it's all a whole range of classifications of these crimes, but car hijackings, it comes at the top.
How do petrol station owners and the police respond to this crime? How do the owners of the businesses, make this space much more safer for patrons?
I think it's now noble for a multi-stakeholder collaboration between the petrol stations owners, the South African Police Service, the Metro Police, and the response units to come up with a multifaceted approach to periodically review the security systems at the service station, because time is evolving and criminals are also coming with sophisticated ways of really touching base and cause havoc at this service station. So we must also evolve with time, and we need to benchmark with international standards in terms of how surveillance is conducted to avert the prevalence or the occurrence of these criminals. In countries such as the UAE, they have mechanisms with which you monitor the whole city from a single room. So we need to embrace technology. We need also to implement the principles of the crime prevention through environment design that is encapsulated in the National Development Plan. It is there, the principles and all its facets and tenets, they are there, but they are devoid of implementation. So it needs a well-consolidated multi-stakeholder collaboration between the South African Police Service, the Metro Police, the petrol stations owners, to come up with a mechanism with which they need to continuously evaluate their security systems at the petrol station, and also train the fuel attendants on how to detect and also intervene when they suspect any element of criminality at the service station. Because when you find a fuel attendant, a customer, whoever is at the service, they are equally vulnerable. So one should not be only a cashier at a service station, or only a fuel attendant at a fuel station. There's a need to do a paradigm shift in terms of how these few attendants are equipped with the skills to avert whatever level of element of criminality that happens at their disposal.
Louis, thank you so much for your time here in SABC News. That is Dr. Louis Nyahunda, Senior Research Fellow at the Tshwane University of Technology from the Department of Law, Safety and Security Management.